What Serum Institute's chief said months ago to India Today, the Indian government panel recommends today.
You're suggesting that if I get a second dose within a month of my first dose, then the efficacy is about 70%. If, however, there is a gap of 2.5 or 3 months between the first and the second dose, then the efficacy is 90%. Is that what
Yes.
you're trying to suggest?
Well, I'm only echoing what the CEO of AstraZeneca has said, and it's come out from Oxford and AstraZeneca from the trials, because one arm, which did it with 1 month apart, was 60% effective to 70% effective, as you mentioned. And there was another few thousand group of patients where they gave a gap between dose 1 and dose 2. And that's where they found 90%. So, the regulator is going to recommend 1 month to 3 months as a gap.
The National Technical Advisory Group on Immunisation has made sweeping recommendations for vaccination in India. The government panel suggests increasing the time between 2 shots of the Covishield vaccine. Now, one should wait for 12 to 16 weeks to take the second dose of Covishield. Earlier in March, the centre wrote to states to increase the gap between 2 doses to 4 to 8 weeks. The earlier gap was 28 days. There's been no change, however, for Covaxin. Experts have highlighted the scientific evidence behind this decision.
With the Covishield, what's happened is they've picked this data out from the AZD122 trial, where they actually found in a small subset of patients that when they gave the second jab within less than 6 weeks, the efficacy was about 54.9%. When they increased this between 6 to 8 weeks, it went to 59.9%. When they made it between 9 to 11 weeks, it went to 63.7%. And when they increased the gap between the 2 weeks by about 12 weeks, between the 2 doses, about 12 weeks, the efficacy rose to 82.4%. I think that's where this recommendation comes from.
But many would say a shortage of vaccines in India could have possibly led to this recommendation.
The thing is that there is obviously a supply crunch, and there is also a need to vaccinate a large proportion of the population. So under the circumstances, the line of thinking is okay. I think 12 weeks is logical, but 12 to 16 weeks, I'm not sure there is a lot of science behind it. What would be better is to actually, instead of saying that people who've had COVID can wait 6 months for the jab, it would be better to actually test antibodies in people before vaccinating them. And those who have beyond a certain level of antibodies, which are protective, they could actually wait on the jab.
Other suggestions are those recovered from COVID-19 must wait for 6 months to take the vaccine. While there's little evidence to suggest how long the antibodies created after surviving the infection last, the US CDC continues to recommend 90 days or 3 months after recovery. While experts in India suggest doing an antibody test to check before a COVID-19 recovered person takes the shot, in the current circumstance, when should one take the second shot of infected after the first one is also a dilemma.
जो अभी फैसला हुआ है वो पीरियोडिक रिव्यू का एक हिस्सा है. उस टाइम पे लगा कि ये ठीक नहीं है, सिर्फ उसको 6 to 8 वीक्स तक पुश किया गया, और अब लगा कि रियल लाइफ एक्सपीरियंस यूके का दिख गया है. ये वैक्सीन अभी इजाद हुए हैं, ये दिसंबर का वैक्सीन है. ये रियल लाइफ में इस्तेमाल होने से जो सोच आई, उस सोच के बेस के ऊपर कॉन्फिडेंस मिला और ये फैसला किया गया है.
The government panel recommendations also says that pregnant women could take the jab after delivery. But for now, these will be sent to the National Advisory Committee on Vaccination for a final decision.
Well, these current government panel recommendations come in the backdrop of most people having to hunt for vaccines, even to get the first jab as well as the second jab, as most private and government facilities have already run out of vaccines. Could the government's recommendation have anything to do with the shortage in supply, and could this recommendation help subvent that gap in supply and demand of vaccines at this point, or is it only based on scientific evidence? In New Delhi, Milan Sharma for India Today.